Wield the power of light, obliterating foes with your holy sword. Hey everyone, it's Spopes. I made this build in response to community requests for a Templar build that more fit the fantasy of a holy sword-wielding paladin. People liked my staff-based builds, but they wanted to see a stamina build as well. So unfortunately, Sword and Board really only works for tanks, and in my builds, I try to strike a balance between accessibility and power. I don't want to send people down a path where they just can't get powerful enough. I'm also not trying to totally min-max things. So I may come out with a Sword and Board build eventually, but just know that if you do Sword and Board, you're never going to get as much damage as you get with a two-handed weapon or dual wielding. So I struck a compromise with this great sword stamina Templar build. In this video, I'm going to cover everything you need to know to make this build, including the skills, champion points, and gear you should use. At the end, I'll show some gameplay and even reveal all the cosmetics you need to use to achieve the same drip as my Templar. Before we dive in, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Please like and hype this video, and consider taking your support a step further by becoming a member of the Spopes Army, picking up some merch, or leaving a donation. Thanks for watching and supporting the channel, everyone. Let's dive into this stamina two-handed pure Templar build. So first, a few notes about the Templar. This is one of the original classes in ESO. It's set up to be a healer, but it can also be a powerful DPS or tank. While it's not directly associated with Meridia, you definitely channel the power of the Daedric Prince of Light as a Templar. This is the most holy, light-oriented class there is, and it has some really amazing fan-favorite skills like biting jabs. The Templar isn't going to receive its class rework for a while yet, but there are new class mastery passives coming out for the Templar in Update 50, which I'll cover toward the end of the video. Overall, the Templar is one of my favorite classes in ESO. I like it more and more as time goes on, which is probably why I just keep making Templar builds. As we dive into the build, the first topic we're going to cover is which race you should choose. The Dark Elf is considered to be the best for stamina builds overall. The Orc and the Khajiit are also strong choices. However, with this build, I didn't go with what was strongest, but rather what I like the best. The High Elf is my favorite race in ESO, and while the High Elf's passives don't really help this build at all, being a High Elf does make my character really tall. So yeah, if you do want the most optimized build overall, probably choose a Dark Elf. But if you want a tall, strong, and vibrant warrior of the light, I would go with either a High Elf or a Nord, even though they're not really optimized for this type of build. Once you've chosen your race, it's time to decide which skills you want to use. The skills I've chosen for this build are not exactly min-maxed. You could probably have a better healing skill, for instance. But what I wanted to go with here is a pure Templar build, where the only non-Templar class skill you're using is from the two-handed skill line. And even though this build is not perfectly min-maxed, it is still plenty powerful. So the first skill is Radiant Oppression from the Dawn's Wrath skill line. Radiant Oppression is a great execute. It starts doing more damage once your enemy is under 40% health. It's really good for single enemies or for finishing off bosses. Plus, they call it the Jesus beam for a reason. It is a beautiful beam of holy light. Very useful, very strong. It's a Magicka skill, so it taps into your Magicka pool, but Magicka is something you're not really going to run out of with this build. Next is my healing skill, or oh crap button, Hasty Prayer. This is from the Restoring Light Templar skill line. You shouldn't really need to heal yourself. You can be doing a lot of self-healing with this build, but in case you're suddenly low on health, you can use Hasty Prayer. It also heals nearby allies and gives you minor expedition, allowing you to move around a little bit faster. The next skill is Ritual of Retribution, also from Restoring Light. It's a morph of Cleansing Ritual, which is a healing skill, but this version does damage to enemies. You basically make a circle around yourself that is 12 meters in radius, so quite large, and it does damage over time every 2 seconds, with an increasing amount of damage with every tick. It does also have some healing utility. Allies who are in the area can activate Purify, which removes harmful effects and heals them. Ritual of Retribution is really useful for getting a little bit more AoE. It helps clear mobs and do damage to bosses. Now your main damage dealer is Biting Jabs. This is the stamina morph of Puncturing Strikes from the Adric Spear skill line. This is the main skill you're going to be using to do damage. It does damage to enemies in a cone area, and this morph reduces the movement speed of enemies and has a 10% chance to apply the Sundered status effect, which is quite powerful. It also gives you major brutality and sorcery, which is going to be redundant because this is an Oakensoul build, like all my builds. But even with that one redundancy, this is still a very powerful skill, extremely useful for getting rid of trash mobs and whittling away at boss health. Now, one of the main reasons I want to make this build was to throw Stampede into the mix. One of the main weaknesses of my other Templar builds is mobility. A Stampede is great because it catapults you across the room. It does some initial damage that is guaranteed to be a critical strike, and then also leaves a AoE effect that does damage over time. This is from the two-handed weapon skill line. And then lastly, we have the Ultimate Everlasting Sweep, which is probably the best Templar ultimate because it doesn't use very much ultimate at all. It only costs 71, so you can use it basically all the time. It does quite a bit of initial damage, but then it also surrounds you with an AoE DOT effect that does additional damage every 2 seconds. This lasts for 10 seconds and is extended by another 2 seconds for each enemy hit. So those are the skills. As you can see, it is very simple, but also very effective. I've tested this build pretty extensively now, and even though I just started leveling two-handed on this character when I made this build, and all the passives aren't unlocked, my skills aren't at their top level, it is still definitely powerful enough to get the job done, while being pretty easy to put together. Next, let's cover the passive skills you should have for this build. Under Adric's Spear, you want all the passive abilities. Piercing Spear, Spear Wall, Burning Light, and Balanced Warrior will all be useful here. Under Dawn's Wrath, you really don't need Enduring Rays because you don't have any skills that use it, but definitely get Prism, Illuminate, and Restoring Spirit. You will also want all the passives under Restoring Light, and all your two-handed weapons skill line passives, though as you see, I myself have not unlocked all these yet. And then because you will be using light, medium, and heavy armor, invest in all the passives in those skill lines. Then if you do decide to farm Undaunted, Undaunted Metal will give you a considerable boost for having each of the armor types equipped, and then you should go ahead and get all of your racial passives. Yeah, this is one of the few characters where I've actually almost maxed out Undaunted. Undaunted Metal does really help out here, but really just make sure you've gotten all of your class, two-handed, and armor passives, and you should be good to go. Next, let's touch briefly on your attribute points and Mundus Stone. Because this is a stamina build, you're going to want to put all 64 attribute points into stamina. As I've mentioned before, there's no point in splitting these up. Just put all your points into stamina. And then I went with the Thief Mundus for extra critical chance. Then you may want to go with the Shadow for more critical damage. It's up to you. Go ahead and play around with it. I just kind of default to the Thief because I find it to be the best, but you may enjoy having a different Mundus instead. So yes, put everything to stamina. Get the Thief. That's a simple and straightforward way to make sure you're set up with this build. Now let's move on to the gear. You're going to be using a mixture of the Deadly Strike set, the Tideborn set, and the Oakensoul Ring, plus one piece of Slimecraw for extra critical chance. And yes, I do know that Oakensoul is not OP anymore, if it ever even was, but for me, back when it came out, Oakensoul was a game changer, and it still is. I don't like bar swapping. I like to keep things as simple as possible. Oakensoul is the best way to do that without losing a considerable amount of damage. I recommend Oakensoul to everyone. It is my favorite mythic. I know there are more powerful options out there, but I love the accessibility and utility of the Oakensoul Ring. So now going through each piece in turn, you're going to be using a great sword to get extra damage. This is going to be in the Deadly set. I chose the Precise trait for extra crit chance, along with the Flame Glyph because I believe it is most powerful. Not 100% on that, but in any case, the Flame Glyph is definitely powerful enough. So Deadly Greatsword on your weapon. No backup weapon because it is an Oakensoul build. And then I played around quite a bit with which piece to put on which armor slots. So on your head, you're going to have the Slimecraw mask, the medium version of the Slimecraw helmet. All your armor is going to have the Stamina enchantment and the Divine's trait. On the chest, you're going to have your one piece of heavy armor, because having heavy on the chest gives you the highest armor value. This is going to be your first piece of Tideborn, and again, Stamina and Divines. Your shoulders are also Tideborn, but medium. The majority of your armor pieces are going to be medium, because that's best with two-handed builds like this. Again, Stamina, Divines. Then your one piece of light is going to be on the waist. Still Tideborn though, still Stamina and Divines. On the hands, you have medium Tideborn, Stamina, and Divines. On the legs again, medium Tideborn, Stamina, and Divines. The one piece of Deadly on your armor is on your boots. Deadly is always medium armor, Stamina, and Divines. Then your last two pieces of Deadly are on the neck and your first ring. I chose for my jewelry Infused and the Weapon Damage Glyph, which gives you extra stamina recovery. So Deadly Necklace, Infused, Weapon Damage, Deadly Ring, Infused, Weapon Damage. Then the last piece is the Oakensoul Ring, the antiquity from the High Isle chapter. This ring already had Bloodthirsty on it, so I didn't switch it. That might actually be better in the end. I go back and forth between Bloodthirsty and Infused. I generally go with Infused, but if you want to put Bloodthirsty on your jewelry, let me know how it goes. But anyway, last piece, Oakensoul, in this case Bloodthirsty, but it could also be Infused, and Weapon Damage. Tideborn is a craftable set from last year's Solstice DLC. You can craft it in any fully stocked guild hall. Deadly Strike is a Cyrodiil set, but you don't have to go to Cyrodiil to get it. You can also buy the pieces you need from guild traders. You can get them in any trait, deconstruct them, and then reconstruct them at a transmute station. Then Oakensoul is again an antiquity from High Isle. There are 5 pieces, and I do have an older video about how to get it that I've linked above. But overall, this gear is not really that hard to get. It's not the easiest gear to get in the game, but it's also not locked behind trials or anything crazy. Again, I'm trying to balance accessibility and power here. Let's move on to which champion nodes you should slot. As always, we're going to skip the green tree because it's irrelevant, but in the blue tree, go with Fighting Finesse for extra crit damage and crit healing, Master at Arms for increased damage with direct damage attacks. All of your attacks are direct damage. Biting Aura for area of effects. Both Stampede and Biting Jabs are area of effects. And then Reaving Blows to heal yourself when you do direct damage. Reaving Blows is absolutely essential. It's what's going to keep you alive in combat. And then as far as passives go in the blue tree, just get all of them whenever you have the champion points to get them. Over in the red tree, I've slotted Rejuvenation, Fortified, and Balanced Vitality for extra tankiness. And then I swap between Celerity and Bloody Renewal. When you're taking down trash mobs, you will run out of stamina pretty quickly. Bloody Renewal makes sure you get it back. But sometimes in boss fights, I'll swap in Celerity for extra mobility to get out of those red circles. And then again, all the passives in the red tree when you have the points to get them. That does it for champion points. Let's talk quickly about which consumables you should use. As always, my favorite food is Bewitched Sugar Skulls. It boosts each of your base stats and gives you extra health recovery. This comes from Witches Festival, the event that occurs every autumn. You can also buy the recipe from guild traders. It's not very expensive. This is also an easy food to craft because it does not use perfect row or any very expensive ingredients. As far as your potion goes, I always go with the Crown Restoration Potion because I give it out all the time. It used to be in login rewards, now it's in the Tamriel Tome. I never run out of Crown Restoration Potions, and it is a decent potion. Restores all your stats and gives you some buffs. That just about covers it. Before we get into some gameplay, let's talk about the changes that are coming to the Templar in U50 and how they might affect this build. The class mastery system is releasing update 50, allowing you to choose 2 out of these 5 class mastery passives if you are a pure Templar like this build. That will make your Templar more powerful. Out of these passives, the ones you're probably going to want to pick for this build are Bright Harbinger, because whenever you use a Dawn's Wrath ability, like Radiant Oppression, you will get increased spell damage and so will your group members. Judgment's Brand is also a good choice because Burning Light is already a powerful passive, and this class mastery passive will increase the damage of all your Templar abilities. The rest of these mainly have to do with healing or tanking, so we still have to test it out, but I do believe that Judgment's Brand and Bright Harbinger will be the best class mastery passives to pick for Templar with this build. All right, last thing before we get into some gameplay, I am always having people asking me what I'm wearing on my characters. So I'm going to get ahead of the curve by going through all the cosmetics I put together to come up with this drip, my armor, my skin, etc. So most of the armor you see here is Fire Drake Heavy, the head, the gloves, the pants, the belt, and the shoes. On the chest and the shoulders, however, I have Scorianite Gladiator. That comes from the Celestial Crates. Fire Drake comes from Battlegrounds. My greatsword here is the Unfeathered Greatsword. That's a weapon style that comes from the Unfeathered Crates. My skin is the Scales of Akatos skin, which is available from certain events. Instead of using event tickets, you will now be able to get this with trade bars when it does come back into the store. Then as far as my body markings go, they are the Horde Walker body marks. Those combine well with the Scales of Akatos skin, but I honestly don't remember where they come from. Okay, these also come from the Unfeathered Crates. Then the dye I'm using on all the slots is the 10-year anniversary gold leaf dye. You get that from the Achievement Commemorative Safe Box looter, and I cover exactly how to get it in my recent Safe Box video, linked above. And then lastly, I have the Heroic Personality on, which is very heroic. It definitely fits the character. And this is very easy to get. All you have to do is enter the Ruins of Mazatoon or Cradle of Shadows dungeons. You don't even have to do the dungeon, just go inside and then get back out, and you've got your Heroic Personality. All right, that does it for explaining the build and the drip. Let's get into some gameplay. If you guys have seen my other build videos, you will know my favorite spot for trash mob obliteration is Crimson Cove Public Dungeon out here in Malleable Tor. Here we are. The rotation is very simple. Jump in with Stampede, then use Biting Jabs. Use jabs a couple times if you need to. You can also throw down Ritual of Retribution to add a little bit more damage. It helps the mobs go down a little bit quicker. We have to Stampede, Biting Jabs, maybe a Ritual of Retribution, and then if there are any stragglers, do another Stampede or another Biting Jabs. Use Everlasting Sweep whenever it comes up, and just keep progressing through the dungeon, using Stampede to move from mob to mob. Pretty simple stuff. This might not be quite as powerful as my Dragon Knights, but it is definitely quite powerful. Strong enough for overland mobs for sure. Also for dungeons. Very easy, no nonsense rotation. We're basically just using 2 skills. If there's just one enemy on their own like this, you can use Radiant Oppression, but that's mainly reserved for bosses. One last mob here, and then we'll get out. Easy stuff. All right, on to the boss fight. There's a boss who is conveniently nearby here in Malleable Tor. I'll make sure to get Zareth Var out to help me. I do have a Zareth Var tank build that again is linked above. Now, the one thing to watch out for with bosses with this build is it is a closer range build, so you will be taking a bit more damage. Just keep an eye on your health. Reaving blows should restore your health pretty quickly, but use Hasty Prayer if you need it. Take a step back from the battle and use Radiant Oppression instead of jabs for a moment. Because you're right there in the middle of the fray, you will be hurt a bit more. Looks like someone just took out this world boss recently. I'm going to step away for a moment and wait for it to regenerate. All right, the boss is back. Let's go crazy. There are a couple waves of ads first, and here comes the bosses. Jump in with Stampede. I have my ultimate. Go ahead and use that. Ritual of Retribution, then some jabs. As you can see, I'm taking some damage here. Nothing I can't handle, really. I'm going to use a little bit of Radiant Oppression here while I regenerate health and let Zareth do some tanking. Come back in with Stampede, Everlasting Sweeps, couple more jabs. Then I'm going to Radiant Oppression this guy until he dies. Oh, Zareth died. That's surprising. All right, next boss. Retribution, ultimate. Do a little Radiant Oppression here. Had to use a potion there. Do another Stampede, another ultimate, and one Radiant Oppression should probably finish it off. So there you have it. Generally, bosses should be no problem. All right, that does it for the build, everybody. We covered the skills, the gear, champion points, even the drip. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you find the build be useful and powerful. Thanks to everyone who requested a Stamina Templar build. This is a lot of fun to put together. Please don't hold back from requesting certain builds. It helps me explore the game, gives me content opportunities. It's a lot of fun making new builds. I really enjoy doing it. Thanks for all your compliments recently on my builds. They really aren't meant to be crazy good, but I definitely do my research, make sure they're good enough. I'm really trying to do my best for my community. So in the comments, do let me know what you think about the build, my approach to creating builds in the game, whether you want me to do a sword and board build, even though it's not going to be very powerful. Any comments you have on the build, on the channel, etc., don't hold back in leaving them. Thanks so much for being part of the community. And also, please remember to like the video, hype it, and share it with your friends. If you have not yet subscribed, only about 25% of you have, please make sure you've subbed the channel. Also, I would really appreciate it if you became part of my membership, the Spopes Army. There are a few different tiers of membership, starting at just $1 a month. And also, please support the channel by picking up some merch in my Fourth Wall shop, leaving a donation on Fourth Wall or right here on YouTube in the form of super thanks. Again, thanks for checking out the build. We're going to finish up as always with a prayer to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Lord, thank you for my excellent community and all the inspiration they give me. Thank you for making it possible to make this build, for making this video today, for putting the breath in my lungs, Lord. Lord, please be with my community, be with all of my members and subscribers and viewers. Bless them in all aspects of life, especially help those who are following you. Lord, help them come closer to your side. And also, Lord, draw close to your side all those recently departed souls across the world. Lord, thank you for your sacrifice in the form of your Son, Jesus Christ, who atoned our sins, brought us back to you, Lord. I give you all glory for my channel and for the video today, Lord Jesus. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. All right, that's it, everybody. End of the video. Thank you so much for coming out today. Before you go, please remember to like, hype, and subscribe. And when you do subscribe, turn on notifications, because I'll be back soon with new content.